Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bill had believed he had seen enough in his life to harden any portion of a man that could shatter, but the truth has a nasty way of discovering and severing even the strongest bonds. He stood alone in the dimly lighted living room of the beach house, with moonlight flashing over the floor like shaking memories. The sound of the water was meant to be soothing, but tonight it was unrelenting, roaring like everything within him. Luna had been there for weeks, struggling to hold herself together. She was youthful, intelligent, and exuded a sweet warmth Bill had rarely encountered in this world. He'd grown to care for her, perhaps not as a blood daughter, but as something close enough to awaken parts of himself he didn't realize still existed. And when she discovered she was pregnant, afraid and unsure who to trust, she turned to him. She had gazed up at him with sorrowful brown eyes, pleading for protection, guidance, and safety. Bill had confidently promised her that she would always have a home with him. He had no idea then how much that pledge would cost him. He had spent several weeks carefully investigating. Luna stated she had little memory of the baby's conception. A gathering with too many drinks. A memory faded into soft outlines and half-whispered sounds. Bill had hoped it was just a basic heartache story that might be turned into something positive. But something within him desired to know the truth. He needed to make sure she and the child were safe. He wasn't expecting the truth to shatter him. The name came to him slowly through phone calls, queries, covert inquiries, and the gloomy stillness that followed. It wasn't the name he desired. It was not the name Luna would have selected. It was not a name that should ever be associated with innocence. The father was his own son, Liam. Bill sat heavily on the edge of the couch, fingers twitching and breath shaky. He replayed every chat he'd ever had with Liam, every moment of father-son intimacy and estrangement. He noticed Luna crying on his porch the first night she came to him. He saw Liam laughing at a family barbecue, unsure what the future contained. He saw the kid, yet just a heartbeat inside Luna, already entangled in a tragedy that should never have happened. He wasn't sure how long he sat there before Luna returned from her appointment. She entered the room quietly, as if she didn't want to disrupt the peace. Her eyes were tired, and she tried to cover it with a little grin. "You're still up," she murmured, her voice hesitating, as if her words would break something in the air. Bill gulped. "Yeah. I needed to talk to you." She paused. Her hand immediately moved to her tummy, where a little lump was just beginning to appear. Her breath trembled. "Bill, what is it?" He had been through hostile takeovers, betrayals, heartbreaks, and loss. But he'd never struggled to talk in this way before. The words slashed at him, harsh and brutal. "I found out who the father is." Her body froze like a deer caught in headlights. Fear, hope, and dread all twisted together. "You did what?" Bill nodded slowly. "I need you to remember something, Luna. None of this is your fault. None." Tears welled up in her eyes and her chin trembled. "Please just tell me." He closed his eyes for a while, gathering his remaining calm before speaking. "It's Liam." There is silence. Not the gentle sort that allows you to breathe. The suffocating type. Luna covered her mouth with her hands as her legs buckled, and Bill dashed forward to grab her. She did not faint, she broke. She let out a sound that was neither a sob nor a scream, but something visceral like sorrow beyond words. "No," she whispered. "No. He was extremely kind. He didn't even remember me. I didn't even remember him. I wondered whether it was someone I didn't know or care about. I thought I could start over." Bill clutched her, his own heart breaking. "I know. He won't want this baby," she sobbed. "He will not. He has Steffi and Kelly, and his life is already broken. This would wreck everything." Bill wanted to offer something soothing, intelligent, and logical, but there was no version of this that didn't damage something. "I don't care what he wants," Bill stated finally, his voice calm but quiet. "I care about you. And this child." This was the promise. And he realized that vow was going to cost him his son. Liam didn't find out by yelling. It was quieter than that. It happened in Bill's office, where sunshine flooded through floor-to-ceiling windows, making everyone appear more exposed than they wanted to be. Liam glanced at his father, perplexed, concerned, and oblivious of the severity of what was to come. You needed to talk? Liam inquired, sitting down. Bill examined him. His boy, now a man, still yearning for a sense of belonging. Yes, Bill replied hesitantly. It's about Luna. Liam blinked in surprise. Luna? Bill, is she all right? There was affection in his voice. Not passionate love. Human love. Compassion. And in that moment Bill wished the world was friendlier. She's pregnant, Bill explained. Liam nodded sympathetically. Yes, she has been scared. I tried to be supportive, but I didn't want to go overboard. Bill's jaw tightened. Liam, she didn't know. You didn't know. But that night months ago you were together. You were both inebriated. Neither of you remembered. Luna only found out recently. I just got confirmation. Liam's face became rigid, and the color drained out like blood from a wound. No, he replied. Dad, no. No, that cannot be right. I'd have remembered. I would have known. I wouldn't. You didn't know, Bill replied gently. But it doesn't change what happened. Liam stood so quickly that the chair scratched against the floor. He began pacing, fingers pressing into his temples. This cannot happen. I cannot have another child in the midst of all. I cannot break any more families. I can't. It's already happened, Bill replied. And their distance became something new. Something sharp. Weeks have passed. Luna tried to remain strong, but every ultrasound, medical appointment, and moment of silence reminded her of the child growing inside her, and the turmoil that awaited outside. Liam attempted to be present, but he felt overwhelmed, torn between responsibility and fatigue. Bill stayed close, hovering, protecting, and attempting to keep together a world that was about to break apart. The saddest thing was that none of them were villains. Just people. Trying. One night, Luna sat alone on the beach, the sand cold beneath her and the waves stretched forever ahead. Bill discovered her wrapped in a blanket, her shoulders quivering. I don't want to ruin your family, she muttered as she heard him approach. Bill sat beside her and said, I never wanted any of this. This isn't just your burden, she said again, resting her palm on her stomach. Do you believe the baby will hate me? Why bring children into something so broken? Bill shook his head, his eyes sparkling. This youngster will experience love. 'Cause you have enough love to share. And so do I. Luna's tears fell softly, and Bill drew her close, laying his cheek against the top of her head. The ocean raged unabated. Life was messy, unfair, painful. Even shattered objects can be beautiful. Bill would protect this child. Luna would struggle to ensure their happiness. Liam would learn how to love in a new type of family. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be clean. But there was still a future ahead. Fragile, trembling, and alive. And sometimes surviving was the most courageous love of all. The weeks after the truth was revealed flowed slowly, as if time itself was being cautious, fearful that one sharp second too quick would destroy someone altogether. The world outside continued on. Cars rolled, people laughed in coffee shops, and children played tag in front yards. But inside Bill's house life felt suspended. Every breath weighted, every silence fragile. Luna attempted to remain calm, but she was feeling everything more intensely. Every feeling came raw and uncensored. It was as if pregnancy had stripped her armor, leaving her heart vulnerable to every tremor of fear and spark of hope. She had never envisaged becoming a mother in this manner, confused and hesitant, the father of her kid striving to grasp how to move forward without sliding backward. She stayed in Bill's room overlooking the beach, which had nice beds and inviting colors. He had replaced the harsh, futuristic furniture with items that felt lived in, comfortable and kind. He was constantly trying to make things better. She adored him for it. But love did not solve everything. Luna sat at the dining table one afternoon, a stack of baby books in front of her, but she didn't read any of them. Her palm traced little circles over her belly in an instinctive protective gesture. She didn't notice Bill come in until he placed a cup of tea in front of her. You haven't eaten today, he replied quietly. She blinked, shocked. I wasn't hungry. He sat across from her, elbows resting on the table, observing her. You do not have to pretend with me. You can tell me when you're scared, Luna said, her eyes shimmering. If I start talking about it, I'm not sure I'll be able to stop. And I don't want you to worry any more than you already do. You let me worry, Bill answered, his voice stern yet gentle. That's my job now. Her serenity snapped. She bowed her head, tears silently sliding down her cheeks. Bill moved across the table to take her hand. It was little, cold, and frail in his hand. You are not alone in this, he muttered. But Luna shook her head and her voice cracked. I feel alone. I know Liam is trying, but he is overwhelmed. He doesn't look at me in the same way. I'm not sure how he feels when he looks at me. Guilt? Panic? Responsibility? It is not love. How do I confront Steffi? How does he explain it? What role do I play in all of their lives? Bill did not respond immediately, because he did not know. Luna didn't have a clean place in that universe. She was a broken thread in a tapestry that had been frayed for years. Eventually he gripped her hand. Family isn't always made up of people who fit together nicely. Her breath trembled. What happens if he doesn't stay? Bill's jaw stiffened. Then I will. He meant it. Meanwhile, Liam drowned peacefully. He spent hours traveling the same loop around the city, past the river, past the park, and past the bakery where he used to get muffins for Steffi and Kelly every Saturday morning. He relived memories in his mind like old films that had been damaged during storage, skipping, flickering, and fading. He only remembered that night with Luna as a whirl of warmth and laughter reverberating in the dark light. He recalls thinking she was kind, gentle. Her smile reminded him of something he had once believed in. He didn't recall anything else. And now he was about to become a father again. He hesitated outside the beach house numerous times before finally deciding to enter. He practiced sentences under his breath, apologies, promises, and reassurances, but when he came in and found Luna sitting quietly with a shawl around her shoulders, all of his words fell flat. She gazed up at him carefully, like a deer terrified of being surprised. Hey, he said softly. Hi. He paused before taking a seat next to her. Not close enough to touch, not far enough to escape accountability, just somewhere in the middle. How do you feel? He asked, his voice thin. I'm fine. That wasn't true. He nodded, but he knew it wasn't true. Silence stretched between them, containing all of the words they were too afraid to express. Finally Luna spoke. I don't expect anything from you, Liam. I never did. I do not want to entrap you or take you away from your life. I don't want to be the reason everything falls apart. His heart shattered. Luna, you are not the reason things break apart. Life breaks apart all by itself. We're simply the ones who have to stand there and watch it occasionally. She laughed softly, wiping away tears. So what do we do? He examined her stomach, the little protrusion that felt like both a miracle and a wound. We take it one day at a time, he explained. I'll try. I'm not sure what it looks like yet, but I'm not walking away. Luna nodded. It was not a certainty, but there was something. Sometimes something was the nearest thing to hope. However, more storms awaited. When the news reached Steffi, it was like a silent earthquake. She did not shout. She didn't break anything. She didn't cry at first. She merely remained still. She listened to Liam's attempt to explain, stuttering over syllables, and looked at her with eyes already full of apologies that would not suffice. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly, trembling. You didn't choose this, she continued after a lengthy pause. I understand you didn't. But it still aches. Liam nodded, his head bent. I'm so sorry. I know. She did not invite him to remain. She did not ask him to leave. She simply allowed the air between them to become something new. Something colder. The toughest aspect about heartbreak was how silent it may be at times. Meanwhile, Bill found himself observing Luna more closely every day. Not because he questioned her, but because he cared too much. She reminded him of things he had forgotten: softness, tenderness, the kind of love that does not demand but simply is. He didn't know how much she relied on him until one rainy day, when she sat alongside him on the couch and rested her head on his shoulder without saying anything. She did not have to. That kind of connection did not require sound. Bill's heart ached, not for romantic love, but for the powerful protective love that had been missing in his life for years. He'd never been a gentle father. He'd been the storm, the blade, the billionaire who erected walls and demanded loyalty, rather than compassion. But Luna inspired him to be something else. Someone better. And as her pregnancy advanced, she drew closer to him. Not because she regarded him as a replacement for anything, but because he was the one who remained when everything else shattered. She would occasionally fall asleep on the couch as they watched old movies, her head resting lightly on his arm. Bill would cover her with a blanket, being cautious not to wake her, and just sit there, watching her breathe and the way her palm always reached her belly even when sleeping. He felt responsible for her. Not because of guilt. Out of love. A love that lacked romance. A love that was at home. But love, any type of love, grows and breaks. Luna felt the baby move for the first time one evening as the sun began to set in orange and violet tints. It was subtle, a flutter, a faint stirring like butterfly wings brushing against the interior. Her breath caught. She placed both hands on her stomach, tears welling up in her eyes, but not from terror. Bill walked in at that very moment, hesitating when he noticed her crying. "Luna? What is wrong?" She shook her head and smiled through tears. "This is the baby. They moved. Just now." Bill froze in wonder rather than terror. He approached gently. "May I?" She nodded. He put his hand over hers. They waited. Just a second. Take a breath. Then there it was. A tiny sensitive pulse of life. Bill's eyes glistened. He did not speak. I did not trust his voice. The world has shrunk down to this one vulnerable instant. Luna muttered. "They've arrived." Bill nodded. It was the first time the future did not seem frightening. The first time it felt real. However, the world outside did not slow down simply because they had discovered something gentle. Steffi started to pull away from Liam. Not angry. Just silently. Like a tide receding, leaving sand where the waves once were. Liam felt himself transforming into two people. One who wanted to take the initiative and be present for Luna and the baby, and another who wanted to mend his relationship with Steffi. He could not be both. And by attempting to be both, he was becoming less of either. One night, he stood on Bill's balcony, staring out at the ocean. Bill stepped beside him, arms folded. "You look like hell," Bill commented. Liam laughed weakly. "Yeah, that seems about right." Bill did not attempt to soothe him. Did not offer any guidance. Did not pass judgment. He simply stood there. Finally Liam spoke. "Do you hate me?" Bill stared at his son for a long time. The boy he reared. He developed into the guy he is today. He was still learning what it meant to be a man. "No," Bill replied quietly. "I do not detest you. But I despise the misery this created. I'm sorry Luna is struggling. I despise that you are. I despise the person Steffi is. I hate that there isn't a version of this where everyone comes out okay." Liam swallowed hard. Bill stared out at the waves and said, "I don't know how to do this. You figure it out. Make one decision at a time. And you do not run." Liam nodded. Because running had always been his weakness. Now he'd have to stand still. Luna went into labor on a windy night. Rain pelted the windows. Thunder rattled the skies. It was as if the entire universe was aware of the impending convergence of sadness and beauty. Bill drove her to the hospital, never letting go of her hand. She cried, not out of dread of pain, but because every emotion she had suppressed for months had suddenly surfaced. Hours have passed. Liam arrived, breathless and afraid. He stood behind Luna, holding her hand on the other side, quiet tears flowing down his cheeks. No one discussed the past. Nobody spoke about the future. It was only birth. Raw. Human. Sacred. And when the baby's first cry filled the room, Luna sobbed in relief. A nurse placed the little warm pink-skinned kid in her arms, and Luna clutched them against her bosom, her heart bursting beyond her own body's limits. Bill exhaled shakily, his palm covering his lips as tears flowed. Liam leaned in and touched the baby's small fingers with tingling wonder. "What is their name?" Liam whispered. Luna gazed between the two guys who had held her during the storm. Her voice was gentle. "Hope." Bill closed his eyes. Liam cried freely. In that moment one thing became clear. This child born of confusion, anguish, and mistakes was also born of love. Not a perfect love. It's not easy love. But true love. The sort that survives. The sort you prefer. Again and again. No matter how broken the world gets,